Very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashing Sani Singh. Let's have a look at the headlines first. ETI and Swarna Mahal depositors will be compensated from this Saturday. Exporting scrap metal as a raw material will be stopped, Industrial Development Board states. News in detail. Central Bank of Sri Lanka today announced that it has taken measures to pay a maximum compensation of 600,000 rupees per depositor of ETI Finance Limited and Swarna Mahal Financial Services from this Saturday. Accordingly, issuing a statement, Central Bank of Sri Lanka notes that it has taken measures to pay the compensation payments to the depositors of ETI Finance Limited and Swarna Mahal Financial Services from the Sri Lanka Deposit Insurance and Liquidity Support Scheme upon suspension of the finance businesses of ETI Finance Limited and Swarna Mahal Financial Services with effect from 13th of this month. In terms of the regulations of the Sri Lanka Deposit Insurance and Liquidity Support Scheme, maximum compensation of 600,000 rupees per depositor will be paid through 45 branches of People's Bank island-wide from this Saturday. Accordingly, the necessary funds for paying compensations to all the depositors and legal beneficiaries confirmed by ETIFL and SFSP has already been allocated, and the CBSL has taken all required measures to ensure that compensation procedure is implemented in an efficient and effective manner. At this juncture, the depositors of ETI Finance Limited and Swarna Mahal Financial Services are requested to extend their cooperation towards this compensation payment program by submitting originals of deposit certificates, identification details and other required documents to the respective branch of People's Bank. Further details pertaining to the compensation to the depositors of ETIFL and SFSP can be obtained from the relevant telephone numbers. The Industrial Development Board states that the exporting of scrap metal as a raw material to foreign countries will be stopped since, according to customs records, scrap metal material of copper and brass was frequently subjected to minor manufacturing processes and shipped abroad through malpractices. These decisions related to the development were made during a media briefing conducted by the EDB today morning.
As you all aware, we have banned exportation of scrap materials, ferrous and non-ferrous base. So in that sense, there were so many discussions and all the stakeholders were summoned and we had rounds of discussions, and finally we have now banned exportation of scrap materials so that the local industry, especially SME, will have enough access to raw materials. With that, we have identified there is a huge issue for SMEs in terms of access to finance. For that, IDB has taken a very positive step with People's Bank. We have signed an MOU in order to facilitate SME sector financial issues with the bank. In that context, IDB will be working together with the bank plus with the industrialist. We will make the industrialist suitable candidate for the formal banking sector so that the access to finance issue will be able to sort out to a certain extent.
The central bank report states that the headline inflation as measured by the year-on-year change in the National Consumer Price Index increased by 1.1% in June this year. The inflation, which stood as 5.2% in May this year, had increased to 6.3% in last month. The increase of the inflation was mainly driven by the monthly increase in prices of items in the food category. Thus, food inflation increased to 13.6% in June from 11.1% in May this year, while non-food inflation remained unchanged at 0.8% in last month. The change in the NCPI measured on an annual average basis increased to 5.6% in June 2020 from 5.2% in May 2020. Monthly change of NCPI recorded at 1.4% in June 2020, mainly due to increases observed in prices of items in the food category. Accordingly, within the food category, prices of 7 food items including vegetables, sugar, fresh fish, eggs and rice increased significantly during the month. Further, core inflation increased to 4.4% in June 2020 from 3.7% in May 2020, while annual average core inflation decreased to 4.6% in June 2020 from 4.8% in May 2020. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Sri Lanka rupee was quoted flat from 185 rupees and 75 cents to 82 cents against the US dollar in the spot market during the day, while bond yields picked up marginally and stocks gained. The Sri Lankan rupee closed at 185 rupees and 75 cents yesterday. Stock exchange data showed that stocks gained 0.11% in the equities market within the first hour into trading. Provisional data showed that Colombo's main all-share price index gained 5.6 points to 5,040.05. The S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks climbed 0.04 points to 2,173.65 on Wednesday. The market turnover amounted to 129.5 million rupees, with 32 stocks making gains while 23 made losses. LOLC Finance PLC contributed most to the ASPI's gain, gaining 10 cents to trade at 3 rupees 30 cents a share. Haycarb PLC shares traded 20 rupees up at 243 rupees a share, while Haley's PLC stocks traded at 149 rupees and 50 cents a share, up by 9 rupees and 60 cents, also contributing to the ASPI's gain. Sri Lanka's debt office sold 35 billion rupees in a weekly auction today, split into 4.6 billion rupees maturing in 3 months, 6 billion rupees maturing in 6 months and 25.5 billion rupees maturing in 12 months. Meanwhile, Moody's Investors Service, which has put Sri Lanka's B2 sovereign rating under review for downgrade, said it will continue to keep the ratings of Bank of Ceylon, Hatton National Bank and Sampath Bank also under review for downgrade. They also added that Moody's is in the view that there is a high level of dependency between the creditworthiness of the banks and that of the sovereign, given that the banks operate mainly within the country and hold significant amounts of sovereign debt. Politburo member of the Frontline Socialist Party, Pubudu Jayagowda, stresses that the country should be soon transformed to a socialist economy. He made these observations releasing a recorded statement to the social media.
පොදු වශයෙන් ගත්තොත් මේ ආර්ථිකයේ අසාධාරණයි. ඒක අසාධාරණ වෙන්නේ ධන කුවේරයන් 40ක් අතේ ධනය ගොඩ ගැහෙන අතර රටේ ජනගහනයෙන් 3න් 1ක් බඩගින්න ඉන්න තත්ත්වයක් ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒකට ඒ වෙනුවට මේ ආර්ථිකයේ ප්‍රතිඵල සාධාරණව බෙදී යන ආර්ථිකයක් නිර්මාණය කරන්න. එහෙම එකට තමයි අපි සමාජවාදී කියන්නේ. අපි යෝජනා කරන්නේ ජන සහභාගී ආර්ථිකය. ජන සහභාගී ආර්ථිකයක් කියලා කියන්නේ ආර්ථිකයේ තීන්දුව తీරන ගැනීමේ කටයුත්තට සමස්ත වැඩ කරන ජනතාව තීන්දුව ගන්න සම්බන්ධ වෙන එක. උදාහරණයක් විදිහට කර්මාන්තවල තීරණ කම්කරුවා විසින් ගන්න, කුෂි කර්මාන්තය ගැන තීරණ ගන්න මණ්ඩලවල ගොවි සමිති වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්න තත්ත්වය. ඒ වගේම මේ අධිරාජ්‍යවාදී උගුලෙන් මිදුණු ආර්ථිකය. මේ IMF ලෝක බැංකුව අධිරාජ්‍යවාදී උගුලක පැටලලා තියෙන ආර්ථිකය එතනින් මුදවගෙන. ඒ විතරක් නෙවෙයි මේ ණය බුබුලු පුම්බන ආර්ථිකය වෙනුවට බැලුම වගේ මේක පුම්බන ආර්ථිකය වෙනුවට ඇත්තට අරටුවක් හදන රියල් වැලියු ඉකොනොමි එකක්. සැබෑ වටිනාකම් උත්පාදන ආර්ථිකය. ඒතර නෙවෙයි ලාභය පමණක් අරමුණු කරගත් ආර්ථිකය වෙනුවට සමාජ අවශ්‍යතා පදනම් කරගත්ත සමාජ පාදක ආර්ථිකයක්. හුදු ලාභය වෙනුවෙන් මුළු මිහිතලයත් පරිසරයත් සතා සිව්පාවත් ගහකොළත් විනාශ කරන ආර්ථිකය වෙනුවට පරිසරය සුරකින ආර්ථිකයක්. මෙන්න මේ කරුණු හත මත පදනම් වෙච්ච ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිපත්තියකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ සමාජවාදී කියලා. එවැනි ආර්ථික ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් හදන්න බෑ දේශපාලන බලයේ තීරණාත්මක වෙනසක් නැතුව. ඒ නිසා දේශපාලන බලය වෙනස් විය යුතුයි. දේශපාලන බලය දැන් මේ ඉන්න ධනපති නියෝජිතයන්ගේ අතින් දේශපාලන බලය කම්කරු ගොවියෝ අතර ගන්නවා.
Freedom People's Collective renews its calls on the need to protect the 19th Amendment, which the government is seeking to abolish through a 2/3 majority in the parliament. Members of the Freedom People's Collective addressing a media briefing held in Colombo yesterday added that the abolishing of the 19th Amendment will annul the Constitutional Council and the independent commissions, thus leading to a threat on the democracy.
The Freedom People's Collective speaks for the 19th Amendment, and in fact, all the politicians who contested, who were in Parliament when it was approved, only one person dissented. Everybody else, it was almost near unanimous decision. Everybody else approved that amendment. They should, in all honesty, defend that document. But there are those who say, even though we are in agreement with the overall principles of democracy embodied in the 19th Amendment regarding checks and balances, regarding independent institutional structures such as the Constitutional Council, the Elections Commission, and so on, and that we are very much in favor of the right to information that was made a constitutional right. They say, but it's not working too well. It's not working perfectly. Therefore, we are disillusioned and we are not going to vote. But to those who are disillusioned and who are thinking of not supporting the democratic progress that we have made through the 19th Amendment, I wish to emphasize that anywhere in the world where we have made progress, we have made it incrementally. Just to give one example, the US Constitution was adopted in 1787. It was only 16 years later, with the Marbury versus Madison decision, that it really got its teeth, and an independent, completely freestanding independent judiciary flexed its muscles and showed its position was only in 1803. So these things happen incrementally. You must go forward.
We will be back with stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. The trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 14.66 points to close at 5,019.79, and the S&P SL 20 dropped 15 points to close at 2,158.61. The turnover was 788 million rupees and over 29 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. That's all the news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.